I'm sure most people watching have heard of the Baus and know about his unique strategy, but for those that might not, let me quickly explain. Essentially, the Baus plays in a way where he maximizes profits rather than minimizing losses. He treats his deaths as a resource, very often tower diving the opponent, proxying, or taking fights even though he knows there's a good chance he will die, because it often means denying CS, getting tempo and wave control, getting turret damage for platings, and more. It's a strategy that, unless you understand his very high macro skill, which most people, and more importantly to the topic of the video, Riot, don't, it just looks like he's inting.
Good gameplay right here. We're talking good gameplay here. This is exactly how you want to start the sand lane.
This means that despite going into mid and late game with scores like 1, 9, and 0, he's still very much a threat a lot of the time, and not actually that far behind, if at all, because those deaths were given a value, and he tries to make sure he comes out even or on top in value, which is where the good death meme comes from in his community. One of the biggest benefits of this strategy, and a big reason why it works so well, is also through taking aggro of the enemy jungle. Since he is very often pushed up or proxying, the enemy jungler often sees him as a free gank or feels obligated to try and stop him, but what they don't realize is that ganking him often isn't the best option. This is because the champions he plays have excellent wave clear and abilities that prevent him from being denied the very deceptively important golden EXP through minions, as well as allowing him to do things like setting up waves, chunking the enemy so that they have to reset or stay in a spot where Baus can kill them, blowing flashes, and more. By taking aggro of the jungler, he also gives his teammates very important space, allowing them to win their lanes without nearly as much jungle intervention, and allowing his own jungler to gank, get dragons, or use the information of them showing top to counter jungle. He is essentially sacrificing himself for his teammates, and then using his very high skill to play much better than most others could from behind, all while keeping his mental in check, where 99% of players would mental boom by the 5th death, complaining about the jungle role and how it's not their fault. And this is why when he does take pressure from the jungler or roamers, and his teammates fumble the opportunities they're given, it gives the impression that Baus is the only one at fault, when in reality he put his teammates in the driver's seat just for them to crash the car with him inside. And this is also why in most games he wins, people say things like, "You got carried lol," or "undeserved," when in reality a big reason those teammates were able to get ahead and snowball their leads in the first place was because he took aggro of the enemy jungler or mid. And of course, I can't sit here and say he doesn't make mistakes or have bad games, where you sit there and think, bro, what? Like the 1 in 17 Rammus game that got him a suspension. The problem is that his bad games look so much worse than a normal person's bad games, because the bad deaths are mixed in with the good deaths and make them all look bad. For example, in that 1 in 17 Rammus game, yeah, he played pretty poorly and made some pretty bad calls, but on a normal player who just goes 1 in 9 and gets stomped similarly hard, I think we all know they wouldn't get banned, and after the initial tilt wears off, we all know that they shouldn't get banned for just having a bad game. And this is the problem, where Riot's support employees are in that same camp of just seeing the deaths as deaths, not realizing he'd denied a bunch of gold through the minions, got very crucial early turret damage for gold platings, got a flash, forced a reset so that the enemy couldn't set up the next wave on him, set up a bounty, and got all the minions in the process. They are most likely just silver or below players who don't understand the idea of deaths having a value and what the strategy entails. Not to mention that they probably get tens of thousands of reports every day and can't spend much time looking at each game to understand what exactly happened. My best guess is that they look at a few factors like score, maybe an algorithm that picks out the most sus deaths on a timestamp, and that's it. And it also brings up the issue of creating a gray area within the ban system that people could use to get unbanned, despite dying on purpose to lose the game. Because Baus' strategy is such a high-level one that is very complex, I don't think they would be able to make an accurate algorithm or educate the support people of what a good death actually looks like, which then means people can BS their way through properly placed punishments to get them undone. It's like when people type something like rope neck in chat, and when they get banned they just say, "I was talking about the band girls use on their necks, lol," and Riot are then put in a position where they're obligated to undo the quote-unquote mistake. It's kind of a shitty situation because I genuinely think the Baus strategy is some of the most interesting gameplay I've seen in a long time, and it brings me back to the old days of things like Gold Pretend when League was actually a strategy game rather than the dopamine dispenser it is now. But on the other hand, I think most people would like to see actual action taken against people who give up after the first death and let the game end without trying, because it's a problem that has only become more and more severe as the years have gone on. And while I can't say for certain what the best choice is, either supporting the strategy by fixing the ban system, or keeping the ban system overly strict and letting the strategy die, I do think I know a good solution to the problem, which is to actually address the toxicity problem in League. But unfortunately, since the topic is a bit too expansive to cover now, it'll just have to wait. Either way, let me know what you guys think of the Baus situation. Do you guys think the strategy should be addressed similarly to the funnel strategy of Tarek and Yi, or do you guys think it should be supported? Thanks for sticking around to the end and for 3k subs. Subscribe if you aren't and leave a like since it helps out a lot. Thanks for watching.